I'm John Green. I'm going to be tying a fly today that I started tying when I first started tying flies, and developed this, or sort of copied it from something, I'm not real sure, because it's relatively easy to tie. It uses wire like a Brassie, and I wasn't very good at dubbing, and it took me a long time. So this turned out to be a fly that's fairly durable. I'll rotate it. It's like a Brassie, but a little more to it than a Brassie. I just call it a Brassie on an emerger hook. I tie it in size 16, 18, or 20. I can use different color wire, different size also. Brassie size wire for the number 16, down to small for the 20, and different colors of wire, copper, olive for caddis or a PMD. This one is gray, which I'm going to be tying. Seems to imitate a Batis, and also I tied in black and might be imitating a Trico. But it's fairly, I've had good luck with it, particularly on the freestone streams like the Arkansas, the Colorado, or the North Platte. So I'll take this one off and put a hook in, and we will begin with, if I can get that off. I'll start out with a bead on the hook. Again, bead kind of depends on the size of the hook. If I can see if this is not my vise, so I'm a little slow with it. Yeah, that should work. This size bead with a on a size 16 hook is a 3/32 bead, and I also just go down in size. On the size 18 hook, I'll use a 5/64. But behind the bead, I start. Actually, this one's going to be gray, so I'll start wrapping in with gray thread, and start wrapping back. I'll cut that tag off, and when I get back to about where the hook or the point starts of the barb, I will tie in a tail section. And this is a gray mallard flank, or I think it's just called dun color. With other color wire, you can use different color, darker. I'm going to trim the front off of that so it's a little more equal. I'll take about 10 to 12 of the little barbules, and that way I can extend them forward and use the forward part for legs or wings, whatever you want to call it. So I'll make a couple of wraps around, then pull till it's about the right length there, and I'll use one of my little specialty tools here, a straight pin, which I find kind of handy to use for some of the tying. So I'll try to now tie on back down the bend without catching too much of the tail material. Keep wrapping a little further, and start wrapping the thread back towards the head, and about halfway I'm going to split the fibers. Try to get them about equal on either side, 6 or 7. They're not quite, but for purposes of demonstration. But I want to kind of keep those on the sides of the hook, parallel to the sides, so when I do go to finish those up, they're not sticking straight up in the air. And this one isn't cooperating quite like I would like to, but I'll keep working with that. Alright, then I can wrap forward to at least 3/4 of the hook behind the eye to about the point I want to start developing the thorax and the head. And then I'll wrap back with the wire. And this, since this is a size 16 Dairiki hook, I'm going to use Brassie size wire. So I'll tie that in and just start working back. And I like to try to keep that along the side of the hook. And keep wrapping along. To down the bend on the shank. Let's pass the barb. And then start bringing the thread back forward. It might be a little better if I were tying the wire in on the other side for the video, but I think you probably get the idea here. And then start wrapping the wire in just a normal Brassie type wrap of being fairly tight wrap close together. And keep going forward. Keep wrapping till, and as you're doing that, kind of make sure the extended fibers that are going to be the legs or wings, whatever they are, don't get caught up in the process. And once you get up to about where you think you want the thorax to be, use the tie-in with a few ties till it's snug. I'm losing my, and then the helicopter the wire off. Make sure my wings are still straight out. Then I'm going to wrap forward a little bit more, and as I go wrap back from this point, I will put in a little flash, just a regular old pearl tinsel, medium. I'll get that on the top. Got a little piece of, oh, it actually worked that time like it was supposed to. So that's tied in, going back towards the back of the hook. And you can kind of look at it and see whether it's got the proportion that you want at that point, and either tie it a little bit further back or stop there. And then the final tie-in is the peacock. Take one peacock curl and rough that up a little so it's fuzzy, and then I'll tie this in going back forward. Make sure my mallard flank wing is not caught up in the process. So I'll tie the peacock in going forward. You'll come up right behind the bead head, and then we're going to wrap the peacock, try to get it nice fuzzed up with the little barbules sticking up, and I'll do that about 4, maybe 5 times, just depending on how the herl seems to be lining up in there. And one more, That looks pretty good. So I will tie the peacock off with a couple of ties. I think you might be able to helicopter that off, but I tend to cut it because I have pulled the whole lot out with trying to do that. And then pull the flash across and tie that in with a few ties. And the final movement, I'll tie one in front of that flash too, just to get it sticking up where I can cut it. And get the wings kind of at the angle back and slightly down. And then I will, well, let me cut that peacock, or that tinsel off. It's kind of in the way there. And now pull the wings back and get all of them pointed back, and give it a little tie-in. Make sure they're at the angle you want, sort of down and back. And before I finish anything off, I'm going to take the end of my pointed tool and put one overhand knot, just to kind of make sure everything's secure before I finish it up. So the wings are back, and I think everything looks pretty good. So you can either use a whip finish tool, or I just generally put a couple of overhand knots this way, because I usually put a little glue on it, just a small amount on the threads. I'll do one more of those cinch knots. Sometimes it's hard to get the right size for the particular bead, and that's what I did here. Didn't get quite the right size, so I'm going to pull that back off and start over. So that looks better. Oh, I think that's pretty well complete. I'll cut the thread and trim the wings back at a short angle. Better to be too long at first. Actually, I cut that one a little bit shorter. And there. And then if I want to finish it, I'll put a little bit of glue on it. And for this type of fly, I'll take a straight pin and put some glue on that. And that's the fly. I hope it catches fish for you.